We are here at Disneyland, and there's plenty to see and do at this new Bayou Country, where the centerpiece is Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Lots of changes to this little corner of the park, and we're going to go get in line for Tiana's right in the middle of this Bayou Country section, formerly known as Critter Country or Bear Country, going way back, Indian Village going way back. You'll see that there's a children's garden, very similar to what you see at Walt Disney World, but this queue is very small in proportion to what you see at Walt Disney World, at least the standby queue. Now, you see we're quickly going into the main entrance of the building. There's not a lot of space here that's dedicated as there is at Walt Disney World, which wasn't a big problem when I was there because it was a virtual queue, but that has since moved on to a physical queue. And I think that's going to have some repercussions, as it probably is going to drag the queue much further around the mountain and down toward New Orleans Square, unless they start wrapping it up on the bridge area itself. You see that we go through a little section of our office, but we go through it very quickly. It's kind of off to one side, so we don't get a chance to see all the details of it like we do at Walt Disney World. We are making a couple of comparisons here. And then we're back outside, and we're going up the staircase to head to the second level that will take us up and over the flume. What I really want to point out here is take a look at the area behind Tiana's here. This is actually the heart of what is Bayou Country, formerly Critter Country. This would be about the size of the space of the queue or the extended queue for Tiana's, or formerly Splash Mountain, over at Magic Kingdom. They don't have a lot of space. As you enter this attraction, you see the kitchen area for Tiana. It's about the same size. Still seems a lot more intimate or more confined, but we get a sense of the same kind of aesthetic that we saw back at the Magic Kingdom. You notice that there is a lightning lane queue that goes around it for those who are looking to get on the attraction much quicker. We're going to go from there down another hallway that leads toward not the train. You see the train station outside, but rather just simply a bridge that the train crosses. The train station is actually on the other side of Tiana's Beyond Haunted Mansion. And this is just a train trestle that it passes over right here. And then from here, we're going to go into what is the heart of the salt mine section. You see the signs indicating warnings or cautions about the salt mine. We're going to get a little bit of a sneak peek as we turn the corner of the actual boarding area where we are getting onto the attraction. You see a lot of use of the same yellow clapboard look. You see the safety first sign. All these things are the same elements that you see at Magic Kingdom, but they seem much more intimate than what you get at Walt Disney World. You get a much more confined space as you weave through this area. That was a purposeful decision that Imagineers made when they made the Magic Kingdom version. Secondly, they realized they needed to open things up much more. Here is pretty much the area where the queue gets combined depending on whether you are in Lightning Lane or the standby lane. And then we're going to turn the corner and come into the boarding area itself to actually get onto the attraction. Now, the big difference, one of the big differences between between the mountain here and the mountain at Walt Disney World is these are straddled seats similar to Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom, and so you're actually going to be just kind of wrapping your legs somewhat respectfully around each other, but it is sort of a straddled position. By the way, notice that the loading gear, there's only one of those there. So again, it's a much more intimate, more confined space that we're going to. We're on the attraction now. I'm actually in the back seat of the attraction. I did that. I was glad to do that often because big guys are put back there because of size. But let me tell you, in terms of the wet factor, that's a really good thing to be back there. You get a little less wet than others in the front. I'll explain in just a second. We're up the first lift, and now we are going around. This area is a lot more visible from the Magic Kingdom. Here it's a little bit more hunkered down and hidden. what you're seeing. And again, you see pretty much the same foliage and the same attention to details that you saw on the Magic Kingdom version. We're going up the second lift now, and here we've got Tiana greeting us and giving us instruction about what's ahead, that we're looking for the right band for the party and so forth. We're going to emerge outside of this. You see a big sign for Tiana's Foods, much bigger than the one you see at the Magic Kingdom. And we're going to turn the corner. You'll see Louis. He's in the garden trying to look for members of the band and sticking his nose in there trying to find out where everybody's at. We go through a series of gardens similar to the Magic Kingdom. Again, it seems a little bit more detailed out. Larry the Armadillo, I've kind of missed. He's apparently on the right side of this area, and I think we just missed him. But you see a range of different kinds of southern vegetables that are being planted and grown. And again, we're just coming down the bayou. And going down the bayou, as we turn around, we see the sign that reminds us of what is really important to focus on those things. And then we start going down our first flume as we pass the door to Mama Odie's. And we're going down our first little flume jaunt there. And let me just tell you, we are going to go to absolute silence because whatever strangers were seated in front of me, they chose to use certain expletives that ought not to be used in a family video. So we had to completely delete that. And they're using those expletives because the water has completely come over the log and has absolutely deluged them. We're immersed into the scene, and we actually see some of the animation of the fireflies right off the bat. And then we turn a corner and immediately see Louis. Notice the pace as we're going through this. We not only see Louis fast and we go past him, now we're going past the band very quickly, and now we're going to go past Tiana very quickly. So one of the big differences here between Disneyland and Magic Kingdom is this trough moves. It moves much quicker. We're going past a little shack. We start to see the fireflies come out. We see another of Louis and Tiana, and then we see the other two bands, the Bear Band and the other band, and it all goes very quickly. It's hard. Again, you're going to feel like you're going to need to ride this much more often because you don't have enough time to absorb all the details. That long stretch at Magic Kingdom, we've gone through it very quickly. In fact, there's a little bit of a pull in the flow of the flume. Tiana's talking to us. We see the frogs. Then we see Mama Odie. She's telling us that we're going to turn into frogs, but it all happens so fast that next thing you know, and again, I had to turn off the audio because, these are the flumes. It's not the final flume. It's these two flumes that are truly drenching people at Disneyland, much more than Magic Kingdom. Now, where we get a long tunnel here is actually right here at Disneyland. We've already been introduced to one or two of the frogs early on, but it's only finally here that we're being introduced to the frog, and then we're introduced to the other members of the band as well. As we kind of go through our journey, you see Tiana's kind of peeking through along with Louis. From there, we're going to see, and they're all really well placed. Everything seems to be really well placed here. It's just that it's going very quickly because it is, again, Disneyland's flume, and it moves guests through. There was a lot of lessons that came after Disneyland toward Magic Kingdom. What's interesting about this, and Imagineers have stated it, is that they designed this attraction based on Disneyland. It was closed during COVID. They had the opportunity going in there and doing a lot of work with it, kind of moving things around, seeing how it would all fit. And then when they got it all figured out, then they looked at the Magic Kingdom version. And that's where it becomes problematic, because not only is the flume moving much slower, there seems to be more gaps in the way that it's all laid out at the Magic Kingdom. And that's what kind of people are looking for something next. The mountain's not much higher at Magic Kingdom, but the whole movement of it is a very different thing. We passed Mama Odie, and we are now ready to go down the big drop. which is really a big spray, but it is not the drenching that you get in the other two versions. So we're pulling out of that, and we're coming around to the rivers of America, and we'll turn around and head back toward the party at this point. Again, a lot of laughs and a lot of, it was a lot of fun to go on this flume. But again, you can see just this part really goes quite slow at Magic Kingdom. And here we're just chugging through, moving on to what is next. We are going to pass Larry the Armadillo here in this particular moment. And then we are going to head right on in. Now, see that up above, you actually see that new gift shop at the Magic Kingdom. If you haven't listened to my video about the two new bookends, the queue and the gift shop at Haunted Mansion, I think I said at Magic Kingdom, Haunted Mansion, go check that out, because that kind of tells you some of the problems that are going on. So we have a welcome sign, and we are now being pulled into the final scene of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and it's pretty well laid out. A little bit more space on the right-hand side that you're gonna kind of see as we pass this section. The fountain right there that you see, and folks looking on. You see Larry the Armadillo, and then we start seeing members of the band. We see Tiana and her friends, and you see the little frogs playing in the front. They're one of the bands that are playing. All of it comes together. It's the flume kind of slows a little bit right here. Actually, what the problem is the flume slows a whole lot coming up, because at this point, as we go into the section, the final moment with Mama Odie and her pal and the beignets, we actually end up being stopped waiting for other logs to empty. So if we look from the starting moment until the time that the flumes actually come to a stop and they're backed up, what you're going to get is you're going to get about 11 minutes and 50 seconds on the Disneyland version, roughly that. And on the Magic Kingdom version, you're going to get about 14 minutes and 10 seconds. So, I mean, you really have what is essentially well over 2.5 minutes of time. And that's a lot of time in a dark ride experience. So you can see that there's quite a bit of difference. So in summary, the intimacy seems bigger at Disneyland. The speed of the flume is greater at Disneyland. The water and getting drenched is bigger at Disneyland. And the queue is probably the most disappointing thing, along with a couple of details. Again, notice the crane. There's a crane standing there at the exit, but there's actually two cranes at Magic Kingdom. And so, again, maybe that's part of the intimacy, but sometimes it feels a little bit part of missing the details. We're here in the exit portion and just kind of walking out of the attraction. And there's a wonderful little fireplace and some hidden details at Magic Kingdom. None of that's there. What you see is some posters along the fencing as you exit. And then what you see, which I think is the strangest thing, is that the truck, which is at the entrance to the queue, or entrance of the yellow barn at Magic Kingdom, is now here at the exit. It's been fenced up. It's almost an aftermath thing. It's as if they didn't know where to put it. And so, well, here we are. It's a missed detail. Now we're going to head toward one of the new gift shops, Critter Club, Louie's Critter Club. And you see that there's a lot of theming, little details which have been done. Mind you, also a little bit of holiday lights there because it is Christmas season. But what you're finding are these little stages and little dressing areas and so forth that have been dedicated to the critters that are part of the animals that perform at Tiana's Bayou Reviews. These Louie performer only sign right there. Mind you, there's a lot of clothing, a lot of t-shirts, pullovers, plush that you can see. Here's a little space for Mama Odie, and you got all her bottles all lit up and some candles and so forth. A little dedicated space right there. There's nice little details that are in this, really one of two queues that are one of two shops that are actually in Bayou Country. And this is the largest of those two. Lots of pins for sale, jewelry and so forth. Lots of little touches in this store that you see kind of a drum that is there. Now, mind you, this store is kind of attached to a couple other stores, and they become the exit stores to the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh. In fact, in some ways, I got to tell you, it's really kind of cool. I show this little water bottle thing, the Winnie the Pooh, there that's been added. It's kind of a nice little detail that's been put in. This store is really about all things Winnie the Pooh, plush especially, but a couple of t-shirts and so forth. And then in the adjoining room, we get a really wonderful hidden gem that a lot of people don't know of, although look at the traffic. It's pretty full, but this is a candy shop with fudge and cookies and marshmallow treats and Rice Krispie treats and caramel apples and all those kinds of things you kind of love. And it's a great place to do that kind of shopping. It's all done to a honeycomb theme of the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which was kind of the exit store in the early days when Winnie the Pooh was the Country Bear Jamboree. You would exit and actually come in here, but at that time it was called Mile Long Bar, and it was a refreshment area, and then it attached to Teddy Bear's arcade, where you actually had some arcade games attached in the early days. So in fact, you probably could have seen Gomer on the piano on the little picture there as a reminder of that area. Here's a lovely little scene that bisects the exit to Winnie the Pooh, the ride, and those shops. It's this waterfall that comes out and then becomes a meandering little stream through the heart of Bayou Country. It's one of my favorite little pieces. You can see, as you see this little brook with its little rocks and so forth along the way, you can see some wonderful little houses which were added during Critter Country days. Those houses are still there. You kind of see the traffic coming in and out. One of the other gift shops we want to talk about is Ray's Berets. This was originally the Indian Village Trading Post years ago, and then it took on its own variety of things over the years. But it's now called Ray's Berets, and it's a little log cabin with grass on the roof, and you see a real nice tribute to Ray there, with a little sign that has Ray, and look at the star. You even see a little glass bottle with his little bed inside of it, and it's just a very lovely tribute to that character in the film. And there's lots of other little details. Louie and Mama Odie are shown in one particular diagram. In another place, you'll actually see Ray in an animation kind of spell out his name as a firefly, and you could kind of see the bayou in the distance as if you're looking out the window into the bayou. Again, lovely touches, a lot of little toys and knickknacks that can be found at this particular gift shop. The second, but I wanted to also mention a third one that's not in that area. It's over back in New Orleans Squares. It's Eudora's Chic Boutique. It's hard to kind of say. And remember, Eudora was a seamstress, so you see some of the costumes she's made for Mardi Gras. You see a bunch of hanging lamps, different themes, including Tiffany lamps that are beautiful Tiffany lamps that are hanging. You see a variety of artwork. This is a lot nicer apparel, purses, collector dolls, things of that nature. Also cooking items. You could buy beignet mix and so forth. And then there's a wonderful thing I've got to tell a little bit about. It's called the storytelling chair, which is a little bit of a New Orleans tradition that plays into all of this. What a wonderful little shop. It's not very far from Tiana's Palace. From here, we're going to spin around from Tiana's and take a good look at the Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree, which is formerly the Hungry Bear restaurant. This has been a favorite of mine for many years. And this restaurant has been given a little bit of a new touch with the Country Bears playing a part in it. And you can grab some vittles here, use mobile ordering if you'd like, which I did, and check it out. This was one of my favorite places to grab a hamburger and a shake and fry and just watch the rivers of America pass by. Now, I have to admit that the food was not impressive. There was this thing with the corn on the cob, kind of like in rib slices. This is a lovely little scene where that same brook I mentioned earlier is going through, and you see the American bunting there. You also see pictures of the bears. But I gotta tell you, the fries were great. The barbecue sauce was great. The corn was awful. There was a pickle juice drink. I shouldn't have tried that. Take a look at this little touch. Teddy Bear. And if you look up, you see there's a little practice swing for her that's hanging off of the log timber at the Hungry Bear Jamboree. But this used to hang over the river. They created a pathway on the way to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And that's what's made this disappointing. I'm going to show this from, this is probably the most disappointing aspect of Bayou Adventure, which happened a couple of years ago as they created Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. What you're seeing right now are the logs coming off of the flume. You see the guests all in ponchos. Wear ponchos. You might want to wrap bags around your shoes to keep them from getting immersed. What is great is the Davy Crockett canoes are there, and you can still ride them most days, weekends, and most days during the summer and peak periods of the year. That is a very cool thing to have. But you see the old picture, how the restaurant Hungry Bear used to go right to the river. They pushed back the river when they shortened it, and now instead of sitting literally over or on the river, instead what you have now is you have a pathway that is in front of the river where guests are moving through on the way to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Now, the advantage of all this is that they have finally addressed the biggest issue they've had for decades in this corner of the park. It's why they added the Country Bears and Splash Mountain and Winnie the Pooh and all these things. They wanted more traffic in the park, but it was always a dead end. Adding this pathway that makes a throughway has really made this section of the park about as busy as any other. Very different kind of dynamic than what you had. So, at any rate, this kind of gives you a whole sense of not just Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but Bayou Country. You see lots of crowds, lots of folks taking on the scenery, taking on the new attractions, and experiencing them for themselves for the first time. It's beautiful by day, beautiful by night, but it is unique to Disneyland in how it's been created and developed. That does it for now. Thanks for joining us for this look at Tiana's and Bayou Country. Please subscribe to DisneyInsights.com so you can be notified of upcoming videos. Thanks.